All right, so here's my first attempt at that backglass replacement. I did a little calling around and I didn't find somebody who would print on glass quickly. And I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure the print was going to be correct. So I spent a little bit more money than I wanted to, but I printed the recreated backglass out on a translucent material. And I'm going to cut out the square reel holes and the credit unit hole. And I've got a cutting mat here and a brand new X-Acto blade in the cutter. And then I printed out what's in effect the screen, the back screen, on a piece of solid paper. And I colored it gray, and then I'm going to use that X-Acto knife to cut out the big shapes, which will hopefully give it that screen effect. And then I'm going to try to sandwich these both on the back of a piece of new glass. And then finally, I'm going to use these windows or trim pieces for backglass, and I'll see if I can in effect create a translate for the machine. The only thing I'm not real happy about, and I'm worried it might be a little too flat, but we'll cut it all out, put it together, see how it looks. All right, so here is that screen all cut out. I don't know, it took me probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. The big problem was these numbers. They're small. And I didn't want to lose the fillers, so I put these little lines in. I don't know if they're going to look okay. But now the next step, I'll bring out a piece of glass, tempered glass. I'll put the colored piece face down. Then I'll put this face down. And then I'll trim it all out with that trim, and we'll see how it looks. So here you can see I've kind of got it lined up. I think I'm going to put a piece of acetate over the back because these are kind of loose and I don't want them to get ripped over time. I've got 20-inch acetate. It's a 22.5-inch wide back glass. It's going to leave like an inch on either side. But with the trim, it should be pretty close. I'm going to try it and see how it looks. All right, well, I may be approaching hack job status on this one. Here it is, it's done. I've got the trim in all the way around. I've got a lifter on. Actually, from the front, it doesn't look too bad. The back is where I had issues. That gloss, I put a piece of acetate over the back of it because the lifters I found that worked were 1/8 inch. And it's 1/8 inch tempered glass, so then there's a couple sheets of paper and then the Mylar, so they're kind of hard to put on. And they would kind of crease the paper, so to get those lifters on, I just took a scratch piece, and as I would work it on, I'd keep this moving along so that it didn't crease the paper. But then the other thing was my acetate wasn't wide enough to cover the whole thing, so I put a remnant on, covered most of it, and then added a remnant. And I think it looks horrible, but I'm going to put it in the machine and see how it looks. In retrospect, if I were to do it again, if I were to do this paper version, I would probably order a width of acetate that would cover the whole thing, because I really don't like that. But I'm going to put it in the machine and see how it looks. All right, so let's recap where we are. The two printouts I did, they were 25.5 by 22.5, perfectly sized. New piece of tempered glass, same size, everything worked great. I'm happy actually with the colors. I think they're just a little washed out, but trim with the glare there. I think it's passable. I also got the back masking cut out, and it works fine. And then what I learned is, since this paper doesn't lay completely flat, you can see it moving just a little bit right there, I put just a few stacks of foam on the back box, and I'll show you that because I was getting ghosting from the lights. Like if there was a light bulb here, it would shine through the front of that mask. So by putting a little stack of foam there, it would push the mask up against the, I'll call it a translite. So yeah, I'm very happy with it, except for the cob job I did, which is I tried to use 20-inch Mylar. and it's a 22.5-inch wide back glass. So then I tried, well, I'll overlap a piece, and I'm just not happy with the way it looks and the quality. I got two pieces here, and then on the left I left it just paper, and that's not good enough. So I bought some 40-inch Mylar, and I'm going to cut out a piece that matches and replace this Mylar in the back. I'm nervous about doing that because this trim fits on there really tight, really snugly, nicely. But when I take it off, I'm worried I'm going to mess up this perfect alignment I've got, because I've got these two pieces of paper lined up perfectly. But hey, if I'd have done it right the first time, I wouldn't have to deal with it. We'll see how it turns out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got a piece of glass that's almost the same size as that back glass. I'm going to just take a razor knife and use it as a template to cut out the initial sheet of Mylar. So now I've got my roughly sized sheet of Mylar that's going to be the back. But what I learned the first time is you don't want it the exact size of the glass. The reason is it kind of creates a waviness because it doesn't have a chance to lie flat. So what I'm going to do is peel off like 1/8 of an inch off the width and 1/4 of an inch off the bottom, so that there's just a little tiny gap between the Mylar and the edge of the glass, and then at the bottom there's a little bit more room because that lifter is a thicker piece of plastic, and I think that'll show better when I put it on, but it helps the Mylar lay flat. Okay, here's the finished product. Single piece of Mylar. I think it looks okay. I do have one adjustment to do on it yet, on the back. I thought the alignment was pretty good on it, but there are a couple of small spots, like her arm. I got a little overzealous trimming the mask, and so it'll leak out on the front, and that'll look like light out here outside of her arm. And then this guy over here has a little issue. But I think what I can do is just put a little masking tape on the outside of this Mylar and just kind of block the light. And I think it'll work fine. So now let's go down and look at the machine. So here are those foam blocks I talked about. All they are is the adhesive-backed rubber stripping that I think I get it from Marco, that they use it for something else. But you can just cut it and then cut it in half vertically and then stack it up. So it just pushes against the Mylar. And you don't need a lot of it, just a couple of them should do it. So here's the before. And you can see, obviously, this is almost, all the flaking's gone here. A lot of flaking on anywhere there was light. Down at the bottom, you can't see it just yet. I'll show it after I show the before and then the after sequence. Then I'll show you down here at the bottom. So here's the after picture with the new back glass in. The camera kind of does some funky things with the lights, makes them look brighter than they are to the eye. Not much leakage, I don't think. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so then here is the before on the bottom part, and you can see how, if I turn the lights on, you'd see even better that it's really flaked out. So let's see what it looks like with the new one in. Here's that after on the bottom part. You can see the number 5 showing up real nice and clean. I'll turn the lights on, but I've got poor lighting where I am right now to show the difference. So here's that new back glass, and you can see this is all nice solid colors. The game over, the tilt will show up on the game eventually, all the numbers. Here's what it looks like on the old one. You can see it's totally shot. That bottom bench was flaked out completely. And look at the lady on the right, how her shirt's basically gone. Versus on the after, how it's all nice and solid. And then we got this. Now there's a dark band showing up right here. That's because there's a stairway pole right there. You would not see that where I'm going to have it normally after it's done.